Okay, the last stage. Now again, I'm going to go through these elements methodically again, looking critically at them. Are the values right? Are the colours right? Do I need to tweak those a little bit? Then looking further at sort of finish and detail. So I might start in the sky again. I'm fairly happy with that glow of orange. I think my sun is coming in a little bit too heavily now, so I might just soften. Oops, big mistake. Dark paint on the brush. So instead of carrying on, I get a wipe and I take that dark green out of there. I would make a real mess of my painting. So in I come, and with a clean brush, I'm going to just soften that yellow in. Maybe lift it up a little bit more subtly than before. Okay. Now down into this again. I think it's still too pinky, so I need to pull it maybe towards. I think I'm starting to think maybe towards orange. Let's give it a try. So try a little section. Yeah, I think that works. The color was just, the value was right. The color was just too intense with the purple. So as I'm painting this, I'm going to carefully look at the profile there. So I'm trying to create that effect of the tops of the trees. So rather than painting the trees up, I'm bringing the sky down. So painting isn't always about throwing more paint on. Sometimes it's about working with what you already have on the canvas there. And it took a little bit of work, but I think I've got 3 sort of stripes there which are working quite well. You get a real sense of depth going back there. So now I'm going to come down to this section here. I'm going to look at how it changes, how it differs. So over on the right hand side, I can see I've got a few more subtle sort of elements within this. So it becomes lighter and then it fades into the background. So I'm going to come in with a little bit of white into that paint. And lighten this. Looking at both sides, because we get little parts of it peeking down between these trees as well. And those little spots of negative space make a huge impact in your painting. So what happens is then it literally sort of fades up into the background there, very subtly. Is there anything else going on there? Well, I can actually see some very few little sort of trees right in the distance there. So I'm going to take some of this paint and work them in the distance. Tiny little subtle details. Is there anything else happening? Well, there's an optical illusion where the bottom part of this seems to be lighter than that. So I'm going to take that light paint that I just mixed over there and bring it down to the bottom section of that stripe. And it just accentuates that effect there. Again, we've got some little spots of that peeking through. We need to be careful at this stage that it doesn't become too sort of literal a copy of what we have in front of us. Certainly that lake, the water, I'd say needs to be softened a little bit. Let's look at the top edge. And then, again, if you look carefully, you'll see, oops, little bits of that lake reflection peeking through across through the painting. I think it could probably do with lightening up a little bit. So add a slightly lighter layer to that. Any other fine details going on there? Yes, we've got a very subtle reflection of these trees. This is why it's good to keep all the bits of paint that you need in case you need to go back to them on your palette. So here we have the reflection. So literally just taking some of this paint and pulling it down. Some of that paint, pull it down. Let's keep coming down. What's going on here? Well, we do have some slightly lighter sections. I need to be careful that they don't become so light that they conflict with that. A little bit of white into one of our previous greens. Let's give it a try. Yeah, that works. So cool greens again. And down we come now into the foreground. I don't think I'm going to mess around with these too much. There might be a case for just softening some of the tops. Any other detail? Let's see, there does seem to be possibly some sort of fence post there. Okay, and into these in the foreground, we could possibly just lift those up a little bit more so that we've got a fairly sort of bright, intense green there. Maybe just the odd brush mark, make a huge difference. Okay, step back and assess the whole thing. Is there much more I can do to it? I think overall I'm fairly happy with it. Once it's sort of 80 or 90% of the way there, I think it's always best just to resist the urge to fiddle around trying to make it perfect. Because that's often the stage where we lose a lot of that sort of dynamic quality. There's nothing wrong with a few bare edges showing through. They certainly don't conflict with the entire painting. Let's take a little step back. Does it need anything else? Very often the last little light accent can make a big difference. Let's lift up that sun, and that's made a difference to it. Let's look at maybe lifting this light down here in the water. Yeah, that makes a difference. Oh, often it's those light accents that just catch the eye and finish off the painting. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Please have a go at it. If you have any questions, you can email me or send me a text. Send me photos of your paintings. I look forward to the next one.